Hi, I'm Andre Marquet, and I'll be your host for today's episode. This season, we're all about creating change together. That's the motto for Productized 2025. And we are in this episode to explore how product leaders, innovators, change makers can drive real, lasting impact across teams, industries, and communities. Today's guest is someone who doesn't just talk about change, she's living the change, she's living it. Barbara Fazekas is a serial entrepreneur. She's also a black belt, taekwondo master, an Ironman finisher, wife and mother of a 3-year-old boy, and she's also the founder and CEO of Bobcats Coding, a digital product studio based in Lisbon and Budapest that's reimagining how we use AI in real practical ways. Bobcats has been a proud sponsor of Productized conference since last year. I'm super thrilled to have you guys back in 2025, continuing the supportive conversations and moving the industry forward. Barbara, welcome to the Productized podcast. You've done a lot of things, but today you're behind the mic. How does that feel?
Hi everyone. Thank you for the invitation. I'm super grateful for being here and a bit nervous because, when we have to talk about ourselves and what we do is always a little bit out of comfort zone, but I'm excited to jump.
All right. So before we dive in, let's just make your life easier so you don't get so nervous about it. There's no real reason for that. Let's warm up things a little bit and maybe play our ice-breaking game. It's just, fun way, rapid way to get things going. What's one change you've made that had a big impact in your life?
Yeah, it's going to be personal, but when I realized I have to take sleeping very seriously, because in my early entrepreneur years, I saw that doesn't matter. Sleeping is for weak people and, who take business seriously, like sleep as less as possible because we will sleep when we will be dead. So it doesn't matter. And as I'm aging, I had to realize if I take entrepreneurship seriously, I have to take sleep seriously.
Mm-hmm. And you are a mother of a 3-year-old. So how does motherhood change your sleeping patterns?
100%. It's still hard because my boy wakes up regularly. Like this night, he woke up like 6 times. He's already 6, but he hit his knee the day before, so he was pain in his knee. So it was a bit hard. But other than that, I learned that as soon as he goes to bed, I go to bed. So I try to maximize the sleeping time.
That's your trick. You try to get to bed and get to sleep as soon as possible. And then of course try to get the best sleep you can possibly. Any other things like, I don't know, some people take some tea, some people take some pills, some people take some, I don't know, meditation. What works for you?
Yeah, for me, doing sports works pretty well. So if I can do 3-4 times, that my sleeping is perfect if the baby is not awake. Yeah, but 3-4 times a week going to the gym is tricky these days. 2 I can manage every week, but 3 to 4 that's a successful week. So that's how it is at the moment. But doing sports works for me the best. I don't take any pills. I don't take teas. Yeah. I don't really have any life hacks. Sometimes I take the cold plunge because, maybe I'm a big sauna person. So if I'm super stressed, I do the sauna cold plunge stuff. Yeah, that's my ultimate relief from a stressful day.
Yeah, that's definitely one thing you can't do in Budapest that it's not so easy to do here in Lisbon.
Isn't it?
Sauna? No.
Sauna.
Yeah,
Really?
I mean, you can do it, but it's not a big thing. Definitely not as big as in Hungary and not as big as in Finland, where Sandra is at the moment. By the way, Sandra is our amazing podcast producer, and she's live with us. So, name one product you cannot live without. What's that app you have on your phone that, if someone had it removed, you would say, "Oh my God."
It's a hard question. I guess it's tricky because, if you ask this question end of last year, I would say Asana. It was a Asana.
You are an Asana master?
Yes, I was like that. But what's happened with us last year, and it's an interesting internal transformation for me, is that software costs in the company get so high, all the, used like dozens of software as a service platforms, and it looked more reasonable to do both the project management and like other stuffs that we had Notion before that. So we moved or the Asana functions to Notion because Notion can do the same, and now we use Notion for that. That I don't like too much, but this was the rational decision. Now I don't, as I had let Asana go, now I can live without anything. I feel that I can adjust to any new environment. But yeah, Asana was my absolute favorite. That reduced my stress level. I just organized the stuff, made the priorities, and calmed me down. I immediately knew what I can do and what I have to release for the day. So it was Asana.
Were you doing Asana daily organization, or are you guys doing like a weekly sprint and organizing it on a weekly basis? What works for you?
For the team, so every team member does it as they want, but we used to have the Asana, now we have the Notion boards for different, we call them circles. So like HR and administration, or we have the top level circle, that's the kind of management
You
function.
call it circles.
Circles, yes.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, and so for example, this top level circle, that's kind of the management. So we have weekly meetings and we have very simple agenda items, things that we are working on. We have a backlog, we have wiki things that we just don't want to forget. Pretty straightforward, and everybody's collecting what we want to talk about to that weekly meeting on the same Notion board now, and then we manage the task from that central Notion board, so we can see through every week what's happening.
So would you say that was the last uncomfortable change you had to embrace in the company? Like something you had to let go, and now you're forcing yourself to go through Notion?
Yeah. Like going from something super convenient to something with a database mindset where you always have to like understand the full software to like put a task there. Like sometimes I scream out loud that I will put some fire under this and like make like, sorry, I know there are.
I feel your pain. I'm also Asana team, and I've always struggled to master Notion properly. So let's maybe jump into that one. If you could instantly master a new skill, what would that be?
Yeah, well, if I could instantly, I would like to be a software developer because that would help a lot in my daily sales job.
Really?
So if I could learn coding,
Isn't that a little bit counterintuitive because of the whole vibe code thing, because of what you guys are also preaching in terms of AI generated code and Gen AI? Why do you think knowing how to code or being a coder would actually help you be a more effective salesperson or CEO?
Yeah, because when we are starting a new project, often I have to talk to decision makers who have engineering background, and I could be more effective if I would myself have both the business and the engineering background. Answering your question, isn't it counterintuitive? I guess the knowledge of how to code won't disappear because of AI. It will be just elevated to another level. And the real deep engineering knowledge, how to create big architectures, how to join a new code base to something that exists. So all these skills won't collapse. There will be special areas where AI will change the game 100%, but software development as an average, I guess like in the upcoming few years, 10 to 30% of the jobs and daily tasks will be affected by this. So learn how to code is still relevant, but learn how to use AI and how to use low code, no code is relevant as well. So it's like we have to learn and know both if we want to be on top of the market these days, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's a product that inspired you, that you think it's doing change right, is helping the world move the right direction?
Yeah. These days I got a Hungarian favorite. They are called Munch. What they do is they are trying to reduce food waste. They are expanding across Europe. And what they do is that they created a network where restaurants, buffets, like little shops, they can upload those products that would go off that day. So in the last few hours when they are open, you can bid for those things and you can take the rest food from the restaurants. And so that's how they reduce food waste, and it makes a lot of sense, and it's a pretty complex software problem. And
Were they your clients as well?
no, they started much earlier than we started this business, but like I follow their story, and they are driving a good change using technology for
For
shared
good.
good. Yeah.
Right. So as we know, Budapest and Hungary in general, but specifically the capital is known for its coffee culture, also tea culture. It's a little bit at the intersection of East and West. So
Yes.
coffee or tea, what does it work for you when you have to do
Coffee.
those big changes? When you have, am I going to do an Ironman?
Yeah, coffee.
What helps you in the decision process?
Yeah. Yeah, when you wake
Maybe
up at
none of
5.
those.
Yeah. When you wake up at 5 and you have to go to the swimming pool in January, like,
Yes.
no, I'm a big coffee person. Like I'm addicted to flat white, and
Mm,
I drink at least like 4 a day, but sometimes 5 to
wow.
6. Luckily, since I read a study that it's healthy because you have to drink, if you drink, you have to drink at least 4 a day to have the optimal effect of something in the coffee.
Mm,
Yeah, if I don't drink coffee, my blood pressure is so super low that I don't
mm.
function. My husband is always laughing at me that I'm a different person if I don't have coffee around.
Yeah, I know people like that.
Yeah,
I
and
know people.
I'm one of them.
Apparently. And how is it? So you're saying that when you're preparing for your Ironman, tell us a little bit about this story. I mean, it's quite unusual. I didn't know about it, although, we know each other for almost more than a year now, maybe, or just over shy. How come? What is the story behind this?
Yeah. I back at the time I had a very, very stressful job, and I just finished my career in
More
Taekwondo.
stressful than being a CEO and
Yeah,
sales director of
yeah.
Bobcats.
That was a super, super stressful job. And so
But
I was out.
mhm.
Don't ask.
Don't ask. Okay.
Uh, it was a marketing thing, but very stressful. And so I was out from my Taekwondo career where I did a lot of training, but I realized that working full time and doing that career won't fit. And I figured out that maybe this ultra triathlon stuff can help me to, release the energies. And I figured out that I can swim in the morning and run in the evenings or the other way around. So that's how I can add it to my lifestyle. Overall, it was a stupid idea. Like I got super injured after the first one, so I couldn't even do the second. And it's not like a shiny story because so what I thought is that, okay, it will fit into my schedule because like I work 8 hours and train before and after. But what
Mhm.
I didn't expect and people don't think, I guess, is that you have to sleep a lot. So your
Mhm.
body has to regenerate. And if you don't have enough time to sleep, you will get injured one way or another. Myself, I got a fascia injury that had to go under surgeries. Yeah, so relevant rest is important, and that
Right. But you
you
did it.
cannot take your body out from having rest.
You actually finish it, right?
Yeah, did, but yeah, I was in massive pain, and for 5 years from that, I had to go under a lot of treatment, 2 surgeries to be able to recover. So it was it was not a good
What
story.
do you take from the story for people that are considering doing it, right? Or people that have entertained the idea of, oh, I'm going to do an Ironman or something like that. What would be your recommendations? I guess do it, but train and give yourself enough, you know, rest time. What's your
Yeah,
takeaway?
like you cannot have everything at the same time. So like, and you cannot. Uh, so if you can be strong mentally, but you have real physical limits. And back at the time, I couldn't accept this fact. I thought that okay, I can do anything, like, but we have physical limits, and we can do anything, just not at the same time. Anybody can do this. Just we have to be honest to ourselves how much time we have to work, how much things we have to do with our family or children or husband or wife, how much housework we have to do, how much we have to cook, and then how much time we have left for sleeping, I guess. So, and if we are honest to ourselves, then we can do anything, but maybe One time we are CEOs, another time we are like doing some taekwondo or Ironman stuff, but not at the same time.
All right. Okay. So, well, thank you for that testimony. I think it's really important. But before we go deeper into the future of AI and product leadership, I want to just, take this opportunity to do a quick detour to say thank you. Bobcats was really one of our amazing sponsors. And I'm not using the word uh, in a chill way, as in, oh, just amazing, because I think you really were. I mean, the entire team had a great vibe to it. You guys came here, you were so excited. I guess you were even more excited than we were, which is kind of crazy. You were really living it, and that's really a great way to work with sponsors, right? When people are happy, they just have this positive vibe to it.
I would say
Inspired, educational,
overwhelming, very practical,
challenging,
thought-provoking,
meaningful,
enthusiastic,
nice people,
innovation, and fun.
Product growth mindset.
new connections.
Join us at the coolest product management environment this October in Lisbon.
So from your perspective, Barbara, what made you want to support Productized last year, I mean 2024, and what are you most excited about this time around?
Yeah. So the reason why we choose Productized as a sponsorship target is that with Bobcats Coding, we believe that we cannot do our sales, or we cannot grow this business through like throwing ads out there, or like doing a lot of PPC campaign, or like doing like brand sponsorships when we put our logo to as many places as possible. We believe that we have to keep connection with the community of product people, and we have to give something before we get something. And that's why every year we have a strong content strategy where we invest into like researches. And how researches are meeting Productized is that Productized is a great platform to share these researches about AI in product development with the product community, because Productized just have this very optimal size that it's not too big, not too small. So I have the chance to talk to people one-on-one, just randomly go to someone to grab a coffee together, that I, for example, cannot do at Web Summit because that's so huge that I cannot just randomly meet someone. And we collected almost, I guess, 25 events from all around the world when we decided to choose Productize.
Wow.
One more reason is that Productize is in Lisbon.
Mhm.
That's, from our perspective, somehow a gateway between Europe and the United States. It's a personal opinion of mine.
Yeah, it's
maybe
a
not-
very hot topic at the moment, as you know, right? Because of
Sorry?
the whole situation.
but like let's say tech experts community-wise,
Mhm,
like
mhm.
Lisbon is how to say attractive point of Europe for American people, and as United States is our core market, it's a great place to meet our clients or prospect clients from the United States. Also a great point to meet with great professionals from Europe, where we belong as a community. So it has so many layers why it's the optimal solution for us that I could talk about this longer, but
That's great. Thanks for the feedback. It's also, I totally agree in the whole gateway strategy of Lisbon and Portugal specific. I mean, for obvious reasons, we are geographically closer to the American continent.
yeah. And you are cool.
Yeah.
Lisbon is so cool. Who
Yeah.
wouldn't want to go to Lisbon?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, I love Budapest myself. I've been there more than a couple of times for over the years, and I really think it has a very charming vibe to it. Also, I don't know. I mean, we were speaking before the podcast actually started. I'm a kid of 1980s. You're more a kid of the 1990s, but I guess you still remember Hungary just post-Soviet times, right? I mean, you probably were still quite young, but you still remember those days. How do you think that things have evolved since then?
Oh, very interesting question. Which aspect should I reflect
mean,
on?
I don't know. How was I could, so just to give you my perspective, was never behind the Iron Curtain, obviously. I mean, we were here in the West, so we were not. But before 1986, which is the year we got into the EU, definitely Portugal it felt different, right? It felt much less developed. It felt much less connected for sure. The economy was not as disconnected from the West, but it was still pretty disconnected. So you would go to the supermarket and the number of products that you would see, the shelves were very limited. So I'm not saying it was the same vibe. This is definitely different, but the early 80s and until like the late 80s, early 90s, you still have like this, okay, it still doesn't feel like Europe here. It still feels like somewhere else, some kind of purgatory.
Yes.
I'm not saying it was necessarily bad or worse. I mean, for sure, nostalgic people might say, oh, it was great back then. But I'm saying, when we got into the EU, there was this feeling of endless opportunities, which is something that I think lots of Eastern countries also lived back in the 90s. Oh, now there's freedom, now there's a market economy. So there's this endless opportunities. The, skies are blue, the future is rosy, unicorns everywhere. And you actually felt it, right? You actually felt it in the economy. People suddenly had money. People were buying houses. There was credit, et cetera, et cetera. How does it feel to you? What are your memories from those times?
Yeah. So I was born the year when Hungary was changing from communism to capitalism, or I don't know, to the free world, they say. And
Exactly.
I guess,
So-called free world.
yes, everybody believed it. Okay, I have so many thoughts. I try to be like smooth with my words. Okay, like I guess Hungary is still a post-communist country, so we cannot get rid of our historic background as no other countries can. Like you cannot make Sweden out of a communist country in 30 something years. So like people here were born into worlds where there was the big master, Mr. Kadar, and someone on the top of the party, or a king or a feudal lord or whatever, who was ruling the land, and they were poor, and the difference was so big that they got kind of used to it. And I'm not claiming, but maybe we can see some parallels with the current politics in Hungary these days, but it's up to everybody's taste. But what is the sure, I guess, is that Hungary is in Europe, but it's somewhere in between Asia and Europe in my heart, or as I recognize it. We have a history, and it's not like it's divided in every people's mind. I guess it's like there is a layer of the society that belongs to a bigger global community in mindset, and there is a different layer of the society where we still have this communist vibe, where people say that back in 1960 something everything was better because we were in my village. People often say when we were poor, at least everybody was super poor, and that was it. And we were not dreaming about better, and that we were feeling so much better then, when we did not even have dreams. Yeah.
Interesting.
So, and now I guess people are way much richer than they were. The economy is a lot better. We have good education compared to other countries, a fairly good healthcare. Like, it's a good ecosystem, even if we can complain a lot about that. So if someone traveled the world, Hungary is a cool place, still a very cool place. But people have reason to complain because
sorry to interrupt you, but having a good education, and I guess we were speaking before the podcast, having good engineering schools, etc., is really critical to companies like yours.
Yeah, absolutely. Primary level. And so I guess Hungary has a stable, fair, free public education. Radically declined in the last 1 decade at least. On a world standard, maybe it's still among the best ones, but we saw better times. I would like to fight for this situation to change to the better. Yeah, but regarding engineering schools, we are super lucky. Regarding business schools, we are not too lucky, because as a post-communist country, who should we learn from? Myself, I'm a first-generation entrepreneur, and I can count on my two hands those people who had a family business. you know, or American friends, they can say my great grandfather was an entrepreneur already. My great grandfather was a farmer. My grandfather was a farmer. My father was a farmer. And then we joined the free words.
Yeah, I mean, you have lots of countries I mean, China is a good example to that. I mean, probably, the richest man in China right now could actually say that, my grandfather was a farmer, my father was a farmer, and now I'm the richest man in China. That also means that I'm probably one of the richest men in the world. But yeah, people can always get out of the cycle, right? But of course, having that legacy story is super important. But now jumping maybe to the future, because I know that you're also such a hard believer in technology and how it can make humanity's future brighter, but only if we cut through the noise. It's so much thing out there nowadays. What does that mean in the context of today's AI hype cycle where we are at the moment? Where do you think we are in this AI hype cycle? And everyone has an opinion. I really want to hear yours as an expert on this subject.
Yeah, I guess it was two questions in one. Where are we in the hype cycle and how can it be good for humanity?
Well, yeah, I mean, if it
yeah,
can be good for humanity, it really depends on your perspective. I guess
so
it is.
I guess, and this is we went details with this in our last study that we just published, is that this is the third big hype cycle of AI since 1952, when we defined what it is, when we defined the Turing test. And so I guess it's going to change things radically now, but not in the way that from one year to another. It will take 10 years or a decade.
So this is the third hype cycle. So the first one was the Turing test. The second one was what?
Yeah, the first one was when they realized that machines can solve problems like human minds can.
Right. So
but
those were back in the 50s with Turing.
They had to realize that we don't have enough data and we don't have good computing capacity to really work out the capacity. Then there was in the 70s, a big dark age of AI. And then again, the science institutions, they could gain data mostly from military. So the big data was available, but the computing capacity was not available back then. So then again, stock markets and science and how they finance it was a bit more optimistic about this. But then a new dark age came because, imagine, I just read that there was a dark age of AI when people tried to avoid using the word AI. So they did all big system integration and everything else.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it's now the third golden era. And we can debate when did it start, 10 years ago or in 2022. It's up to who you talk to. Yeah. But now we have the computing capacity and the data available. And so all stars are together now to really use this technology. And I guess it's going to bring big changes. But always there is a human factor. There is an enterprise. How to say this in English? So how enterprises can accept and integrate new technologies, because that's really how the change will come to life. There is a famous case study about how tractors, so the machines for agriculture, reformed the industry. So when we saw the first tractor in 1960, if I remember that, everybody said the agriculture will collapse because tractors will take our jobs. And they really did, but 50 years later. Of course, with AI, I think it will be much quicker, but maybe it will take a few years to see the changes that are logical at the moment, but it takes time to big enterprises understand security concerns, be able to push the purchase through procurement and do the corporate training. So all these human things will slow it down. But overall, I guess it has a lot of threats. So I don't want to minimize the negative effects that are possible, but I hope that it can turn humanity towards more human jobs, like taking care about kids, the elderly, because other repetitive and jobs that can be really done by a machine will be done by a machine, and we can invest our human creature into jobs that really require this complexity that we can bring to the table.
You recently published a white paper at Bobcats on AI washing. And why was that important for you and Bobcats to put it out right now? And what is AI washing, just to start?
Yeah, AI washing is a marketing term, so to say, and the product or the team who is pitching idea of a product tries to exaggerate the value that AI gives for the product value. So maybe it's an example that's well known. There was a startup in the US called Juice Zero, and it
Yeah,
was a big scandal. If you
I know
read
about
about
it.
them,
Yeah.
they promised, for those who didn't read it, they promised that they will squeeze your fruits with an AI-driven software, so it put more fiber to your cups than a normal squeezing. And they delivered the first 1,000 machines, and users tested it out, and it's same. So,
Same,
and
same,
they
but different.
same, but different because this AI thing costed
The 1,000. Yeah.
120 million US dollars for
Yeah,
the investor.
exactly. To the investors. Exactly. Crazy stuff. So that's an example of using AI
Yeah,
washing.
watching, yeah. And why we did it is that as a salesperson in a product studio, I'm listening to startup pitches like on a weekly basis. So everybody's coming to us with a new idea that they want to build, and I find that people have such a very thin layer knowledge about AI, so they use their fantasy to like create what technology could do. And it's very harmful for the industry. And I give you one concrete example. We lost a big deal last year that I'm still having like dreams about, because there was a team. They were resourceful. They were experienced entrepreneurs. They were new to digital product industry, but they were very passionate about the goal that they wanted to reach. And they try to do their homework, so read about AI as much as possible. But because they were not engineers and not experienced in this field, they figured out that they have to employ a very hardcore AI expert to the team for tons of money. I try to convince them that before the product market fit is clear, you don't have to do that. Just have some low code, no code, cheapest thing possible on earth. We help us for really little money, find where is the segment that will pay for your service, and then we bring into the team the AI experts that you
Mhm.
need.
Yeah.
And they canceled that. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't bring AI before it's needed, right?
Yeah. And they canceled that and employed another agency who invoiced them the AI experts. And the product is still now not out there. So, and I'm still so sad about this story because, yeah, they were misled by the media, by the hype.
Yeah, I mean, there's always this adage, which is the client is always right. So, oh, you want an AI expert? Fine, there's your AI expert, right? But as a founder leading sales in a tech company, you've taken a bold stance. We were talking about it before. You said sell what the tech can actually do, not just what it sounds good. Can you share how that philosophy plays out in your client's work ethics? I mean, so you believe you should deliver what you should deliver, and that's it.
Yeah, absolutely. So the big dilemma with every new technology is that, do you want to sell the potential or do you want to sell the actual capabilities of that technology? Because
Hmm.
what clients know about the technology normally is the potential, because
Right,
that's the fancy stuff that you can
right.
write headlines about.
Hmm.
Let me give you an example. So, for example, prompt engineering, okay? Like, that's a big thing now. But let's imagine a client who has, so where prompt engineering is important in the MVP that they are doing, but maybe not that much at the point. Maybe a little bit like less precise prompt, less perfectly engineered prompts makes the product work. Should I sell them a prompt engineer for 200 euros that they would pay for because that's hype? Should I let them
200,000
200 euros per hour?
hour. Okay, right.
Should I let them know that this level of prompt engineering can be done by a good senior engineer, a smart one? So should I sell them the cheaper senior engineer who will do a
Hmm.
few prompts and make this thing running, or should I sell the dream that, and I prefer to sell them the senior software engineer with some prompting knowledge
Hmm.
than expert prompt engineer who is super costly and absolutely an overbuy for that stage of the product. Myself, I represent this. Maybe I would be richer with a different approach, but that's what we can be credible at. So we sell what it can do and not what.
And you've spoken openly about struggling with imposter and syndrome when starting out this company, specifically because you are a non-engineer that is now leading a tech company in Hungary, where most of the your team is actually, and your CTO and so on, and the people I know at least are engineers. What helped you push through, and what would you say to someone in a similar spot today?
Do it anyways. That's the advice. Yeah, it's hard because I guess doing this sales job, I'm qualified for that, and doing this CEO role, I'm qualified for that based on my education, based on my experience. But Hungary is a big tech city, so like before we had great engineering universities, big buzz around engineering here. So let me give you an example. When I met my husband, he was still attending the Budapest University of Technology, and he was studying informatics and like software engineering, and he introduced me to his classmates, and I had to introduce myself. Hello, I'm Barbara from Budapest Business School, and I'm studying marketing. And I saw at their faces that if I would say I'm the stripper from the corner, that would be a more appealing introduction than saying I'm a marketing person from the business school. So they look down on these studies so much that, I still have it in my bones. But I guess the strategy is that I have fears, but I do it anyways. So that's it.
All right, do it. Also, you also mentioned that generative AI has made prototyping faster and cheaper than ever. And this is something that Thomas also spoke last year at the conference. But companies still struggle to adopt it. And why do you think implementation is still such a hurdle when it comes to adopting this tech?
Yeah, I guess it's like the human factor. Andreas, if I can be like very emotionally transparent here, I'm still shocked by like how hard it is. Like really now for prototyping and early MVPs, like AI and low code, no code made it dramatically cheaper. And I thought I will able to sell so much from this to the clients, because instead of paying like 300,000 euros for really proper MVP that you can test out, now you can buy it for 30, 60,000. And I thought people will love it. But what happens is that there are a few clients who are serial entrepreneurs or experienced digital product people. They get it instantly. We already have a beautiful case study with one of our respected clients, Achilles Lagrave. We will launch it soon. I don't want to say it now, but like those who are really in this industry, like get it. But those who just want to join it, they think that my idea is perfect. I don't need testing, Barbara, because what low code, no code brings to the table, you can test out features very easily for a very, very low price.
And validate market and
validate
demand.
market. But most of these platforms are not good for scaling up.
Yeah, that's
you
true.
cannot put 10 engineers there. You cannot like handle a lot of data, a lot of. So when you scale up, you have to go back to normal coding as of today. Okay.
As of today, yeah.
As of today. And when I pitch it to prospect clients, that okay, now we test your idea for okay, and then when we found what's relevant for the market, we write that only that piece of the code in whatever React Native and scale up your product. They say no, I know exactly what the clients need. Build it in React Native from day zero. But that's 10 times more costly, and
Right.
they are still doing it. And after a point, so my soul is clear. I said 10 times that it can be a lot more cheaper. But
so sometimes what inspires clients, of course, is a little bit like you were speaking in the beginning, right? This inspiration from others being successful doing it that way. So I've seen successes and failures when it comes to using AI and for Hurley MVPs. Can you maybe share a standout story, one where things went really well? I guess you were talking a little bit about this new project, but anything that you can actually share where you have actually used this approach and for a client, if possible? Because the story you presented last year was an internal project, if I'm not mistaken.
And based on that internal project, we built a product. We call it the Rapid MVP. And we partnered up with an American company, Humanity Innovation Labs. And we started it in January, and we will finish the first project now. So answering your question,
Wow.
the first case study will be out like next week on Wednesday in Boulder, Colorado.
And that's where you guys heading to for
Yes.
the launch of the
Roadshow.
product.
Yes, for the launch of this new approach, because I absolutely agree with you. We feel that we must be able to share like market case studies to fire up other clients a bit.
Yeah, exactly. Lots of clients are me too kind of strategies like, oh, they have it. I also want to have it, right? It's like, but it works. I don't care. Show me success from others and eventually I will follow along. So this took what, 2 months to develop? Lasted 2 months, so January to March? Or
It's 6 weeks to do this project, but we started to promote it in January. We had to find the first client who applied for that. We had some preparation and we started it like
and why do you
5
consider
weeks
it?
ago, and this will be ready by next Wednesday.
Why do you consider it a success from a development standpoint? What about now market viability and the whole experimentation phase will start on Wednesday, right? To test out the market.
Yes. Yeah. So then when this, let's say, early MVP will be ready and we give it to the client who ordered it, and he can take it back to investors, early customers, and collect feedback. And then he can decide what he wants to do with this. Was it successful? Should we test out more features in this low-code, no-code framework? Or we found something and he wants to order a more scalable software from us in a in an average coding technology. He will decide.
Very well. So look, before we wrap up, let's maybe just take a moment to reflect on today's conversation. We've covered a lot of ground. So let's maybe break it down in 3 key insights from today's episode. What would you say, Barbara, are the top 3 takeaways for our listeners, the most important insights we've gained from this discussion?
Yeah, I would like you to take away, first of all, sell and buy the actual capabilities of technologies, not the potential that you see in them. So like this is one thing. The second is that everybody has to learn about AI. I guess we cannot get rid of this burden. Everybody in the product field, we have to suffer ourselves through getting a baseline knowledge about it, because otherwise we will be misled. And the third is sleep enough.
Rest
That
enough.
helps. Sleep enough.
Okay, so yeah, that's a problem with our biological brains, right? We have to rest. That's something neural networks don't seem to have a problem with.
Yes.
So one, sell and buy what the tech can offer. And I took note of that. The second, everybody needs to learn AI. So let's just maybe dig deeper into that one. What would you recommend people to do if they wanted to know more about AI? What is the get to go place to, I'm a manager, maybe I'm a product manager, maybe I'm, a manager of managers, whatever it is. I want to know more. Where should I go? What should I do?
Andre, I guess you know the answer. You have to come to Bobcats Coding site, to the AI library, because honestly, every quarter we collect all the insights from clients and other product managers, and we give those insights to the researcher team. They come back with a lot of materials, and we try to publish a material that you can read through in an hour, and it's a fine-tuned, easy to digest knowledge and the basics, and that's what I suggest.
So that's on the Bobcats Coding website, and it's called
library.
AI Library. And here I'm actually going in you have AI, you have a bunch of topics there: papers, design automation at scale, AI innovation guidebook for decision makers. I think this is probably a good one to start with. Summary of 12 key dilemmas in AI adapted to decision makers.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there is one for product teams, there is one for designers, there is one on this low-code, no-code thing, one on AI washing, and we are just about to decide what's next. So if anybody who's listening to this podcast has a dilemma that should be researched, and you guys don't have time or resource to do that, please email us or send us a LinkedIn message, because we are open ears for aspects of the AI dilemma in digital product development.
Can you give like a specific example of what a AI dilemma would be that would make sense to reach out to the Bobcats Coding?
Yeah, so now most of our client base is like some kinds of software as a service product who has AI integration in their product, and they want to scale it up. And it's not trivial how you start from the early days when you just have a few APIs and use a few third-party solutions, and how to create a software architecture where you can change these third-party providers as the costs are changing. So we are good in building architectures that will support this AI journey from the testing out MVP to the scaled up phase, because we understand AI and we understand how to scale up product architectures properly. So that's what we are good at. And we have engineers who are syncing together with the client, not just like, sending tickets through the account managers, but really a team that's syncing together with the client.
Very well. That's super important to work in tandem with the client. All right. Thank you, Barbara. I mean, that's a wrap for today's episode at Productized podcast. A big thank you again to Barbara, to the team. The whole team is lovely, for sharing your valuable insights on creating change. And before we go, is there any good way for our listeners to follow up with Bobcats or with you, or reach out, or maybe a special offer? I don't know. Just asking.
As far as special offer, I'm not prepared for this question, but we can negotiate something if you guys reach out based on this podcast. But what I would like to recommend you is to come and visit Productized, because the almost entire Bobcats team will be there this year. We are going to bring all the research papers and all the experience from this year from the AI world there. We will launch a new white paper there for sure, the one that we will start these days. So that will be super fresh from the shelf. And that's it. And anytime if you are in Budapest, just let us know, and you have a seat in our office.
Where is your office, by the way, in Budapest? Is it city central?
It's very city central. Fortunately and unfortunately, it's in the gateway of the party district. Some kind of the office chose us because there is a big co-working place here. That's a big startup center. It's called Create 26. It's a very lovely team who's running this service office. Yeah, it's a big tech hub, and we wanted to be the member of this. If you're a tourist in Budapest, you cannot avoid our office. It will be on the corner.
Very well. All right. So there you have your invitation for everyone tuning in. Don't forget to follow Productize on LinkedIn, subscribe to the podcast, maybe also to the mailing list, and leave us a comment with your thoughts on today's episode. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks again for listening. Remember, change is something we can all create together. See you in the next episode.
Thank you, Andre. Thank you, Productize.